Hi, I'm Eric Kelly from KellyPlanet.com. This is a closer look at Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 3, Episode 11, The Hunted.
We have arrived at Angosia 3, a planet that has expressed a strong desire for membership in the Federation. Prime Minister Nayrock has taken Commander Riker and me on a tour of the capital city.
Hey, that tall guy is Nayrock, played by James Cromwell. For comparison, Riker's like 6'3". Cromwell will go on to play several other characters, most notably Zephyr Cochrane in the movie First Contact, Enterprise, and Lower Decks. Apparently, Nayrock's people have recently been in a pretty bloody war, and Riker comments how well they seem to have recovered. Then some guy comes in and says they have a problem, and he needs to talk in private. The big to-do is a prisoner has escaped from a penal colony on one of their moons, and has stolen the transport ship. Nayrock really has no way to stop him, so he asks the Enterprise for help.
Mr. Data, a stolen transport vessel has departed from Lunar 5. Have you picked it up in the sensors?
Yes, Commander.
Good. Detain the vessel and quarantine the pilot.
So there's the transport, and it looks like it's trying to hide behind that asteroid. Yep, there it is. Well, part of it. Wesley's like, well, what happened to the rest of the ship? They get no life signs from that section, and take a peek to see if the other part is still behind that big old rock. They find wreckage on the surface, no life signs. And uh-oh, the smaller section seems to have disappeared.
There's no sign of it on its previous heading. Someone must be at the helm.
I am afraid the prisoner has eluded us, sir.
Eluded the Enterprise?
Data tells Picard, sorry, sir, we did everything by the book. I have no idea how the prisoner escaped. Nayrock calls up and says, hey guys, we know who it is. His name is Roga Danar. We'll hear that name again on Lower Decks. Apparently he's a badass and they should be careful. Danar's ship has no warp drive, but their sensors can't detect it anywhere. No cloaking device either.
Unless he's borrowing one. If he's hanging over the planet's pole, the magnetic field would confuse our sensors. Let's try it, Mr. Crusher. Realize for polar orbit.
Hey, yep, there it is. But still no life form readings. So they grab the transport with a tractor beam, but Danar turns toward the Enterprise and powers up for a suicide run. Data says the shields have automatically activated, and the tractor beam is terminated. What? I'll bring that up later. Of course, the little ship thing bounces off the shields. Picard's like, we'll just beam the whole thing into a shuttle bay.
I do not believe that will be necessary, Captain. He is no longer in the drive section.
What?
I anticipated that diversionary tactic. We are picking up a cylindrical object, approximately 7 meters in length and 3 meters in diameter.
Yep, there's an escape pod. I'm not sure where he thinks he's going in that. Picard orders O'Brien to beam over whatever's in that pod, and Worf sends security to the transporter room. That's Roga Danar, and his weapon doesn't work because the transporter takes care of that when the script remembers that's a thing. So the security guy shoots him, but it doesn't do anything, and Danar takes out everybody in the room, even O'Brien. The fight spills out into the hall, and even though he's taken several phaser hits now, all it takes to subdue him is Riker and Worf because they are main characters.
Have you run a diagnostic on the sensors, Data?
Yes, sir. There is nothing wrong with the ship's sensors. The reason we did not pick up life signs aboard the escape vessel is because the prisoner has no life signs. Apparently he is capable of deceiving the sensors.
Roga Danar is all locked up and having flashbacks or something, and Troy picks up on this and stops by. She tells him that she's the ship's counselor, and he's like, oh, that's too bad. I was hoping you would be the one to escort me back to jail. Troy can sense that this terrifies him, and he's like, yeah, it does. I just killed 3 people to get out of there.
And I'm fully capable of killing you as well. That's a terrifying thought, isn't it, even to me?
Do they mistreat you there?
Oh, no, the Angosians take good care of their prisoners. It's simply a matter of never being able to leave.
Then he's kind of mean to Troy, and she's like, whoa, why all the anger? And he replies, I knew a hot girl like you, and she broke my heart, so I turned to crime. What? Oh, he was just playing. So Troy's like, why the games? He says, that's what you mind control experts do, right? And she's like, I'm not a mind control expert, but I sense that pain that drew me here is gone. That's interesting. Here, Troy is telling Picard that she knows that Danar has a criminal record, but senses that his base personality is not violent. Something's going on. Picard says, well, okay, but I'm still sending him back to jail, and that's all we need from that scene.
Can I see a police record on Roga Danar?
There is no police record.
That's impossible. He's been in prison.
Lunar 5 is a military prison facility.
He's a soldier?
So this is starting to make sense. The records show that Roga Danar is actually a decorated veteran of that war I mentioned earlier, but there is no record of crime. So Troy goes to ask him about that. She's like, hey, I found out that you're a soldier. I was a soldier. And she says, you don't have any crimes on record. He says his crime is doing what they trained him to do, and he's considered a threat to society. She says he's a non-violent man, but Danar says, you can learn to be violent if you have to. I was in a war.
So it started with the war.
It started the day I volunteered counselor, the day I met my first instructor, and he also called himself a counselor.
Troy's telling everybody what she learned. Roga Danar fought for his country and came back a different person. He was subjected to psychological manipulation and biochemical modification. The doc's like, yeah, I scanned him and he's pretty messed up. It looks like the military pumped him full of drugs. Riker says, well, maybe he was a POW and the enemy did that to him. Troy's like, no, it was his own government. And now he has super PTSD.
Why was he assigned to the Luna 5 facility?
He committed no crime. He says he was ordered there with others like him. The rules changed too quickly. A lost temper could result in murder.
Data asks if anybody tried to help them. She says, nope, they just sent him off to penal colonies. Now Data visits the brig, and Danar is like, why do you have yellow eyes? Data says, well, I'm an android, and like you, I've also been programmed. Danar is like, yeah, you've been talking to Counselor Troy. But it's not the same, Commander. The person I was is still inside me, but the programming kind of takes over. How can I possibly separate the two? Now it's time to give Roga Danar over to Angosian security. Worf says it'll be a 0.1 second delay between the brig's force field going down and the transporter beam. I bet that's all he needs. So here we go, and he's fighting the transporter somehow. So he completely breaks the beam, and it gives off a super bright flash for some reason, and where'd he go?
Security personnel, full alert. Data, put the turbolifts back online. If Danar sees they're operating, he may try to use them. As soon as he does, we have him.
Unauthorized access of Turbolift 5 on Deck 34.
He took the bait.
They think they have Danar trapped in the turbolift, but when Worf opens the door, he's not there. But his phaser is, and it's set to overload. So Worf orders that section sealed, and then he just picks it up and turns it off. That was pretty easy. Roga needs another phaser, so he knocks that guy out and uses his comm badge to lower the force field. And he goes to engineering and knocks everybody out there, I guess, with that phaser. Now we're in a Jeffries tube, and this is the first time on the show. Although this one is super large. They're usually like 4 or 5 feet across.
Danar must have climbed up the reactor core and gotten into a Jeffries tube. He could be anywhere.
We believe he is attempting to reach Shuttle Bay 2.
That's 25 decks up from here.
Shuttle Bay 2 is not 25 decks above them. Main engineering's on Deck 36, and Shuttle Bay 2 is on Deck 13. Data says he thinks it's highly unlikely that Danar is actually going to Shuttle Bay 2. He reasons that he's used misdirection before, and this is kind of too obvious. Riker asks him where he thinks he's going, and Data is like, well, I don't know. Looks like he's in a cargo bay to use that transporter, so that's like Deck 38. Picard says, pump that cargo bay full of knockout gas. And that's the scene, I think it is. But Danar's like, nuh-uh, your vape juice won't get me. Worf and his team show up, but no one is there.
We have found no sign of the intruder, but there is a missing pressure suit from Cargo Bay 3.
Mr. Worf, post security guards at all emergency airlocks on decks 37 through 39.
Aye, sir.
Oh, he was just hiding the whole time, and now he knows their plans. Oh, again, Worf is tricky, too. But Danar's phaser bomb went off and makes the lights flicker so he can take down Worf. It's also shut down the ship's sensors, which are kind of important. Worf gets some huge boxes dropped on him, and this will happen several more times in the future. Worf should stay out of cargo bays. And Danar beams out of there. Oh, it looks like he beamed onto an Angosian ship.
We are continuing to repair damage to the ship's sensors following the escape of the Angosian prisoner Danar. He is still at large. Engineering, I'm getting readings on tactical. Are we back up?
That's affirmative, Commander.
Geordi gets his sensors back up, and Narok calls to say that Roga Danar has attacked the penal colony, and hundreds of prisoners are on the loose. Danar and some buddies are heading toward the capital. Picard says he'll send out an away team to help out. Oh, geez, the captain's on the away team again. That shouldn't happen. Narok's like, what? This is it? We need security guys.
We're not here to fight your wars for you.
Don't you understand, Captain? They're dangerous.
You are dangerous. They're only victims. You made them what they are.
No one was pleased with the solution, but we had to act for the greater good.
Data asks Narok if they have the ability to deprogram the super soldiers, and Narok's like, yeah, we can fix them physically, but we think the psychological stuff is permanent. And Data's like, did you try?
We studied it thoroughly. Even before the training began, we knew there would be problems reversing it.
There are methods of treatment. Until you try them, how can you know they won't work? Even a partial recovery could give them some peace.
The Angosians were all like, yeah, the people wanted them to be exiled, and besides, we might need them again. Wow. Just then, Danar and his buddies show up. They kind of remind me of Dennis Leary's pals in Demolition Man. Anyways, these guys obviously have some issues.
Come on, do it!
Cowards.
Yes. You're not programmed to murder cowards. What will you do?
We will not go back.
Troy's like, yeah, go Roga. Tell that tall guy what you want. He wants his life back. He wants to go home. Yeah, I get that. Nayrok won't negotiate unless they throw down their weapons and go back to jail. Daynar's like, yeah, good luck with that. Oh, Picard, you have to do something. Call your ship. Picard's like, okay, and orders the away team to be beamed up. Nayrok's like, oh, you can't do that.
I have all the information I need for my report. This is not our affair. We cannot interfere in the natural course of your society's development. And I'd say it's going to develop significantly in the next few minutes.
Yeah, so I wonder how this works out. We never know. Picard says here that if the Angosian government survives the night, the Federation will offer them assistance to help the veterans.
Mr. Crusher, set coordinates for Starbase Lyra 3.
Coordinates set, sir.
Engage.
In case you missed it, this episode was all about the treatment of veterans returning from war, in the U.S. specifically. Given the time this episode was written, that would be Vietnam. So this is like the Star Trek version of First Blood. The guy who played Roga Danar would be an important plot point in the future. Jeff McCarthy was the chief medical officer of the Starship Voyager. He got killed in the first episode, but this is why they had to activate Robert Picardo's hologram character, which was super awesome. The tractor beam thing from the beginning, I'm pretty sure tractor beams can hold a ship in place, so the turn and take a run at the Enterprise shouldn't be possible. And the automatic shields thing would be super helpful. That should be a thing way more often. This is the first time Jeffries tubes are mentioned or seen. I talked about this in other videos, but they were named after Walter Matthew Jeffries, who designed the original Enterprise and lots of other stuff. He is from Lebanon, Pennsylvania, like my mom. Time for a rating, and this is a solid episode. There was quite a bit of dialogue I cut, but that was for time, not because it was bad. It just didn't advance the story, but some of it was pretty good. Going to give this 3 deltas out of 5. Let me know how you feel about that. If you liked that video, thank you. Subscribe and leave a comment if you'd like. If you didn't like it, you could watch something else. There's more Star Trek videos and related content on my website. Check it out at kellyplanet.com. I'm Eric Kelly. Live long and prosper.